Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. There were more bombshells dropping today in the Georgia Senate than during the carpet bombing of Berlin. Fani, Willis, and Nathan Wade are a study in corruption at this point. And I would be very concerned if Judge McAfee does not disqualify her. But I've got some real bombshell stuff on that I'm going to cover in this report as well. But first, I want to get into this book deal. So it turns out there's this book called Find the Votes, right? And this book here's a picture of it. You can see this Georgia prosecutor, a rogue president, and the plot to steal an American election. But here's what's really wild about this. Michael Isikoff is the author, the co-author. He is of Russiagate fame. You cannot make this stuff up. So Bad Kitty Unleashed posted this on X today. A good follow if you want to follow somebody over on X. My handle is down below in the description. But she says, oh, good Lord. This is the Fani Willis book, and it involved a major Russiagate person. Michael Isikoff was the chief investigative correspondent at Yahoo who dropped the report in September of 2016 that was based on the dossier involving a low-level volunteer advisor to the Trump campaign named Carter Page, who did have some contacts in Russia and did business there. This is nuts. So now this all roads lead to Russia, Russia, Russia. But here, check this testimony out during the Georgia Senate hearing on the book.
I'm troubled about this Find the Votes book. Are you saying that the prosecutor has been discussing an ongoing prosecution and her prosecutorial strategy and indictment strategy to authors of a book during the course of the prosecution?
Yes.
And
yes.
That book is now come out?
It is. I don't think I brought it with me. No, I have a copy. We admitted a copy at the hearing. No, it's out there. It was published.
Is that a violation of ethical obligations in some way to be publicly discussing, just like the public statements you made about the guilt of a defendant, et cetera?
Yes, definitely. And we alleged that and argued that as far as forensic misconduct. It's very surprising, shocking, and I don't know that there's a ton of cases on it. But that book. Also, we talked about it somewhat in our hearing because it goes into a lot of details about the financial troubles that Ms. Willis had prior to becoming DA. And so, it talks about that a lot.
Okay. Is she getting a financial benefit from that book?
I don't know.
Is she getting a royalty or a payment for having been a contributor to it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But I know her dad testified that he was interviewed for it. He came to the district attorney's office and was interviewed for it as well. And I think that was when her dad first learned that she had dated Mr. Wade, I think. But I may be wrong. Or maybe that's the first time they met, something like that.
All right. Well, thank you for your willingness to testify before us and the documents you provided.
It's interesting. It seems like politics is now the new road to fame, where they work on book deals, they talk about their cases that they're not supposed to talk about, and they just try to pump themselves up and get on book covers. And obviously she had financial troubles. Well, she figured this is probably her way out of it. But it gets crazier because, of course, there is a racketeering. There is a RICO case going on, and that is the collusion between the White House, the J6 committee, and a prosecutor down in Georgia, and the mayor, as it turns out. So here we have the actual evidence. Ms. Merchant is going to talk about the visit to the White House to meet with Kamala Harris.
There's one of the other things I did was I did a open records for the White House access, and we had records that Ms. Willis and the mayor of Atlanta were at meeting with the vice president.
Okay, and so this is the access history. How does that work? The White House keeps records of anybody that comes in and has any kind of official meeting, for sure?
Yes, and my understanding is it's highly regulated who can access the White House, and so you have to apply in person or apply ahead of time, and then they give you a time when you make the appointment, and they give you a time when you're allowed to be in and when you have to be out by, and they track you. And I mean, that makes sense. They don't want anybody lingering in the White House, but they keep that. And so they're called WAVE records, I believe is what they're called, and I'm not sure what that's an acronym for, but they're publicly available. They're open records.
And this record that's shown on the screen shows Fani Willis was a visitor with V. POTUS. I presume that's Vice President of the United States.
Yes, it was.
And what was the date of that back in, was that February sometime of 23?
February 28, 2023.
Is that before the indictment?
Yes.
Okay. Any further explanation of why Ms. Willis was meeting with the Vice President of the United States?
No. I know Dexter Bonds, and I believe that's the same one that Mr. I think it's Dixon, the mayor of Atlanta, was also there.
Okay.
It's important to remember that this meeting took place before the case ever started, and Fani Willis denied that in the testimony in court. The other thing I want to talk about is our judge, McAfee. So Megyn Kelly had tweeted this out, and this is making its rounds on Twitter right now, but terrible news for Team Trump in Atlanta. Judge McAfee was running unopposed. Many judgeships are run, unopposed. But now you get a Jesse Jackson disciple challenging him in a district that went 73% for Biden. McAfee is going to need a rock-solid spine to DQ Fani Willis now. She is referencing a tweet from Phil Holloway, who shows that the judge in the Fulton County Trump case draws opposition. The opposition is a former executive director of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the social justice and civil rights group founded by Reverend Jesse Jackson. The Fani Willis saga just became extra political. And fortunately, this word is getting out because you have to shed light on this, because the only way that you're going to see a judge go, I don't want to bend to this type of pressure, is to make sure that the pressure is created on the opposite side and that it's out there in the open. That's why I suggest you share this content. So the judge's opponent clearly has a dog in this fight already, so much so that he would have to recuse himself or be recused from the case that he would otherwise inherit. A cynic might think Fani Willis' political machine put him up to running. And I think at this point, I'm becoming a very big cynic. So this is Robert Patillo, and here he tweeted out a picture with the Trump shoes, calling them air treasons when you've got to run. Y'all, these judgments got Trump so broke, he's selling Chinese bootleg uptowns. So this guy is actually running for a judgeship where he can show no impartiality. It's absolutely disgusting. Judges are supposed to have what's called judicial temperament. They're not supposed to be like this. But this guy is obviously proving that he does not have the temperament to be a judge. This is on top of Paul Sperry. He's a reporter with Real Clear Investigations, tweeting this out. Developing, an Atlanta lawyer familiar with Judge McAfee's thinking says he was reluctant to disqualify DA Fani Willis because he's worried the ruling would spill over to other indictments she's signed. He also made the note McAfee previously worked for Willis and contributed $350 to her campaign. Now, you have to also understand that Ashley Merchant contributed to Nathan Wade's campaign, so that's not a disqualifier per se. But what's interesting about this is he's reluctant because the ruling would spill over to all these other indictments that she signed. Well, if the shoe fits, you've just got to, the shoe fits. It doesn't matter what these consequences might be on the backside about other indictments. Maybe these other indictments shouldn't have been signed. See, Fani Willis, the people of Fulton County, Georgia, are not getting a prosecutor worth the money that they're paying for. In fact, they're not getting an unbiased prosecutor at all. And I would imagine this is spilling over into other things, not just Trump. But I want you to also know that this saga is not ending, because tomorrow there is a Fulton County Board of Ethics meeting, and they are taking up the issue of Fani Willis there. The Fulton County Board of Ethics will hold a special meeting on Thursday, March 7th at the Fulton County Government Center. Members of the public are welcome to attend in person or join via Zoom. And this is where they're going to be talking more about Fani Willis, this in a Board of Ethics meeting. So folks, the web that has been weaved by Fani Willis is beginning to tighten around her. And this all started because she went after Michael Roman. And you know what's interesting? Michael Roman is one of the top opposition researchers. So he makes oppo research reports, they're called, on candidates. He digs up all the dirt about people. And she was foolish enough to go after this guy. And now the dirt keeps being dug up. But not only by him, we've got to give a lot of credit to Ashley Merchant because she is so dogged in her investigation. She's not only a great lawyer, she's a good investigator. Want to mention my sponsor, Mike Lindell, MyPillow, MyPillow.com. Promo code Lumberjack. You can call them at 1-800-568-2865. The Percale sheets are on sale right now. Big sale with the Lumberjack discount code. In fact, $20 more than the other influencers out there. So because you're my audience, you get this special deal, and you are also getting free shipping. That's another special deal for listeners of my show. So go over there, support Mike Lindell. He's doing the Lord's work. And thank you so much for listening. Remember, subscribe if you're new. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.